back to StarrSoap's channel. How are you today? I'm doing good. Today I'm going to be trying to make liquid soap. That's right, it's going to be my first time ever trying to make liquid soap. I'm pretty excited about it. So come along with me and I'll show you how I make it. Squee! So first things first, I've got my butters and my oils in my crock pot, and I've got my crock pot on warm and it's slowly melting them. And I've also got mixed up some potassium hydroxide, not sodium hydroxide, that I'm going to add in and then try to bring it to trace. Now, to make liquid soap, you use a different caustic soda. So you use potassium hydroxide instead of sodium hydroxide, and that means your final soap will not be a bar, but it will be in a liquid form. So here goes the lye now. And one thing about this lye and about this method and the way I'm doing it that I've read is that you will find it difficult to bring your soap to trace. So what normally would happen very quickly with cold process soap making, where it comes to trace and you don't want to over mix it, in this case we're going to be mixing and mixing and mixing quite a bit to get there. So in order to not really stress out our stick blender and not burn it out, I'm going to do this in sort of stages. So I'm going to do a bunch of whisking and mixing like you can see I'm doing now, and then I will let it rest, and then I will come back again and mix it some more, and then let it rest and come back again. And I believe it took 3 sort of rests and then coming back and trying again before it actually reached that consistency, that pudding type consistency, like trace, like we're used to. So that was kind of interesting. And like I say, I just took little breaks on the stick blender now and again, and then I'd come back and do it a bit more so that I wouldn't burn my stick blender, our old trusty stick blender. And with my oils in this batch, I'm using olive and coconut and not canola, sorry, castor. Olive, coconut and castor oil. Those are the only oils I'm using. So you can see here now that I'm actually getting to the right consistency. This looks more like it. Once you get to this consistency and it's lovely and creamy like this, the cook can begin. I'm cooking mine on low, and I'm going to be going away and coming back sort of at like half an hour increments and checking on it, and it takes a very long time. I believe all up it took like at least all day, if you know what I mean, before it was finally a Vaseline-y paste. And then I left it overnight to cool before I came back to dilute it the next day. So like all in all, this is quite an involved process. It's not like where you just mix up your cold process soap, pour it in the mold and then leave it, and you don't have to come back and think about it again till the next day. This was something I had to hang out with all day, and I had to keep coming back and checking on it and checking that the temperatures weren't getting too high, because that was part of what I read. It said to keep it, I believe it was under 70 degrees Celsius, so you didn't burn it, so you didn't overdo it. So all day I was checking on it and I was moving it around, and as you can see, it was doing kind of like what hot process soap does, where it goes into these different stages. This is very much like a mashed potato stage, and like what we're trying to get to is that translucent Vaseline-y sort of a stage. So I'm just giving it a mix around to try and make sure that all of the soap is getting cooked evenly, and then I'll have to cover it up and come back again. It's a very long process and you have to be patient. So I do think that my recommendation for other people wanting to do this, once you get the hang of it, definitely do a small batch like this to start with, but once you get the hang of making it, I would make a lot at once, a whole bunch at once, because once you've made the paste and it's good to go, you can wrap it in cling film and store it in the fridge and then dilute it as you need. You don't have to dilute it all at once and end up with heaps and heaps of liquid soap. So that's kind of a cool little insider tip there for you. So you can see now that it's starting to go towards that sort of Vaseline stage, only just starting to happen. We're still very not translucent, opaque and creamy looking underneath, and it's difficult to stir at this stage. So if you had a big full pot of it, it would be very difficult. I would recommend, rather than a small spatula, using like a hard wooden spoon or something like that if you're doing like a full crock pot of it. And yeah, like I say, because it was such a mission, in the future, now that I know what I'm doing, now that I've practiced and I feel quite confident, I do believe that I would just do a huge amount, fill the whole crock pot up. So what I'm doing here is I'm scraping off a little bit of the soap. Even though I'm pretty sure it's not ready, I'm going to do this anyway and attempt to do a clarity test. Now, a lot of people use this chemical that I'm almost embarrassed to try and pronounce, like phenylephthalin or something like that. It's a pink liquid, and it's a way to test if your soap's ready, but this is also a really good way. So because the water is cloudy, we know the soap is not ready. If the water had been clear, then we would be good to move on to the next stage. So I've got to just keep on cooking. So I definitely noticed that my soap didn't look as translucent as I would have liked until I left it overnight. And here we are back the next day and ready to add some water and dilute it. And what I did is I followed somebody else's suggestion of how much water to use. And I don't think I'd do that in the future. So you can see that I have filled my crock pot up with water because I've actually looked at how much soap paste I had, weighed it, and then worked out exactly how much water to add and just added it all. I would recommend adding, like, if you've got, you know, like, break it down into quarters. So you just add a quarter of it and then add another quarter and another quarter. So add as you need rather than dumping it all in like I did. What I ended up with this batch was a very watery liquid soap. It's still lovely and it works really well in those bottles that foam. So the ones that when you press the button to, you know, pump some into your hand, you get foam already foamed up. It works brilliantly in those, but it was not the consistency that I wanted. So I immediately went ahead and made a second batch and slightly did everything else exactly the same, but I slightly changed the water, and that way I got a really good understanding of it. So by adding a little bit of water, I got a very, very thick gel that was quite difficult to put into bottles. It took a very long time going through the funnel, like it was very slow moving, almost like honey. And then I added a little bit more and it became a little bit runnier and it was a bit more consistency that I liked, and I bottled it up. So if you're wanting to make something that's more like a thick gel, you can definitely achieve that by just adding less water, and that's something that I would totally recommend you experiment with and play with. This dilution phase was also a very long process. It took probably half a day from like the morning till lunchtime of just letting it dissolve, and it was all on a low heat, but I did add cold water to cold paste and then brought it all up to a warmth in the crock pot. So I would recommend perhaps trying in the future adding hot water to hot paste. You might speed up the process that way. But this just took a very, very long time to get every last little lump out. And one thing I did read was that if you're at this stage and it's not happening for you and you're frustrated, you can sieve out the lumps and you can dilute them separately. So that's kind of good to know. But I didn't do that. I just kept on waiting. I kept on being patient and coming back and stirring it. And eventually every last little piece of the soap paste dissolved and I was left with a huge amount of very runny liquid soap. So yeah, learn from my mistake. Don't add all your water at once. Add it a little bit at a time and play with the consistency until you get it just where you want your liquid soap to be. The other thing I noted with this is that I used olive pomace oil and it did not create a clear liquid soap. Now, I'm not bothered about that. The soap is beautiful, it works well, smells great and all of that. But if you're wanting to achieve a clear soap, and that's something that's very important to you, you need to use extra virgin olive or just regular olive oil. Don't use pomace olive oil. The reason why I believe is because it has a higher amount of unsaponifiables in it, and that's why we ended up with a creamy soap, but it also means you end up with a very moisturizing and nourishing soap. So, you know, pros and cons. It's all good in the hood. I added some fragrance oil to it. I really don't think I will in the future. I don't think I will scent them. I really don't. I actually like the way the soap smells on its own, just from the oils that were used. It smells lovely and natural and earthy and kind of almost a bit nutty. I friggin' love it. So in the future, I don't think I'll scent it. But here are some pictures of how lovely and translucent my paste looked I'm really, really happy with that. And it took, like I say, for it to sit overnight and cool right down for it to actually look like this. And then here's some photographs of me putting the very thick gel into the bottle like I told you about. It was moving so slow that I had time to snap these wonderful shots of it going into my little 100ml pump bottles. I've just got the little 100ml pump bottles here because it was my first try. But I love this stuff, and so does my family. Everybody that has used it has told me, oh my gosh, Crystal, that stuff's amazing. You've got to make more of it. You can use it for shampoo, you can use it for hand wash, body wash. Super great, super lovely. And here it is with me with the label on, and I just ended up printing out some very, very simple labels here telling you exactly what's inside. So I had sunflower oil in there as well, I forgot to mention, sorry, and I just put some pretty little flowers on there. And yeah, I think it turned out really cool. I hope that you enjoyed watching me and my first attempt at making liquid soap, and I do hope to bring you more videos of me making different liquid soap in the future. But yeah, this is what we've got for now, and I really love them. They're super adorable, and I don't even want to sell them. It's really hard to part with them. It's quite funny. So on the liquid soap theme this week, I would like to highlight Cody Cunningham and his super, super groovy Power Green Rinse Off face mask. Now, this is not a liquid soap, but it is a product that he's bottled and put a wicked label on. And look at it, it looks so lovely. I love Cody's products. His brand is really, really cool, and he's a super groovy guy. So if you would like your picture also highlighted in a video, do come and join our group on Facebook called StarrSoapy Family and share your pictures with us. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. Go on, become a member of our StarrSoapy family. We want to share the soapy love. Bye, guys.